If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Welcome to the AEW Match Guide podcast, where we deep dive into the best matches in AEW history. Brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network and your host, Sam Brown. Welcome to the AEW Match Guide on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. I'm your host, Sam Brown. Thank you so much for joining me. For the last 2 weeks, myself and what I'm going to charitably call the AEW Brains Trust here on the Social Suplex, that's Floyd from All Things Elite and Imp from Imp's AEW Adventure, we embarked on a quest to find out who is the greatest male AEW singles wrestler of the promotion's history. And we have slowly been going through our giant 64-man bracket. And last week, we went through rounds 2 and 3 of that. And tonight, we're at the business end of the tournament, gentlemen. We've eliminated some of the big names. We've had a bunch of arguments. We've had some upsets. And tonight, there's no easy answers. We hit the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and then we decide who is the greatest AEW male singles wrestler of all time. Welcome to the show. Before we get into it, I'll bring in both of my co-hosts. We've got Floyd, the man who hosts the podcast with a proclivity for positivity, All Things Elite. He has been hosting a podcast for all AEW for longer than AEW has had shows. It's great to have you here tonight, Floyd. How are you feeling?
I am feeling great. I just attended my 76th live AEW show this past weekend. So that was great. I had a great time. The pay-per-view was amazing. And, I am really excited to talk about this. And I'm going to let you know I am the proclivity of positivity. But when you're getting down to the brass tacks of these numbers, I'm going to have to say some negative stuff to defend the person that I want to go through. So please forgive me. I love all of these people. But when you get down to this, you kind of got to get down to the mean part of stuff. There's no way to do this nicely.
The theme of tonight, no easy answers. Imp, how are you today? Imp, I should give you the long run. He is a raconteur. He is a podcaster. He is a writer. He is my partner in crime on so many occasions. Matt Maher, a.k.a. Imp from Imp's AEW Adventures. Welcome to the show, Imp. What are you hoping to see happen tonight?
Well, I'm expecting on maybe more than one occasion to basically be the decider where we already know your two's opinions and it's just who argues it the best.
We've had a few of those. We've had a few. Last week, I love that Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole one last week, and I was trying so hard to convince you. Didn't quite pan out my way, but look, we are using a number of criteria to go through these things tonight, and we will get into who the matchups are. But before we do, we'll go through that criteria. We are looking at, of course, individual singles performances. If you haven't joined us on the last 2 episodes, the reason we're doing that is it's kind of it gets a bit more difficult if you add tag teams into the situation. So we're focusing on male singles, and where it's nothing against the women either, but it's just that the men have been they're the predominant focus of the company, and there are more of them as well. So that's the reason we've chose to focus on the male singles performances, and the criteria is the performances in matches, stories and promos, business performance, have they moved metrics, have they drawn viewers, consistency, what their peak has been, the historical importance, either positive or negative, just the general vibes around them, the kind of X factor, the feeling around them. And then we're using tag teams as a bit of a tiebreaker in the event. They can contribute to this, but the focus is on singles performance. The brackets for this, you can view it in the Social Suplex Discord. If you're not part of the Discord, it's a great place to talk about wrestling. It's a great place to talk about AEW in particular, but all wrestling from around the world. We've got chat for all of those. I've been chatting to people a lot lately about The Wheel of Time, which is a book series I've recently been reading voraciously. So you can really dive into anything on the Social Suplex. It's a fabulously welcoming place to have a chat. If you're, feeling like the open social media platforms are not for you, but you still want to have, somewhere to chat about the things that you're interested in, particularly when it comes to wrestling, jump in the Social Suplex Discord. And the brackets for this show and for this are up there. We've got up-to-date brackets there. If you jump in now, there's a link in the show description. You'll be able to see where we've gone to get to this point so far. But let's look ahead to what we've got tonight. Gentlemen, we're at the quarterfinals. We've eliminated a number of audience favorites, I'd say, a number of our own favorites, people that we love. We've had to, sacrifice some special guys, but or some sacred cows even if you want. But we have had a couple of upsets, so let's just run through where we're at. So John Moxley, the first seed, will face Cody Rhodes, the ninth seed. Cody Rhodes upset Will Ospreay, who I'd seeded 8th. He upset him in round 3 to get through to the quarterfinals. In the second quarterfinal, the 4th seed MJF against the 5th seed Chris Jericho. Real tight one there, I feel like. The second seed, Adam Page, will face the 7th seed Darby Allin, who overcame CM Punk in a heated discussion last week as well to get through to the quarterfinals. And then the 3rd seed, Kenny Omega, who sort of breezed his way through so far, comes up against Swerve Strickland, who I think was the biggest upset of the tournament so far. He is the number 11th seed, and he overcame the 6th seed Bryan Danielson in the 3rd round to progress forward. I'm curious, guys, what do you think about the upsets so far? Did they surprise you dramatically that Cody was able to get past Ospreay and that Swerve Strickland was able to get past Danielson, and that those two have got through to the quarterfinals? Do you think we missed anyone in particular getting through to the quarters?
Well, I argued both of those people, so no, I don't think we missed anything.
I think I argued them as well, or unless Swerve was one of those where I was the arbiter trying to figure that through. Yeah, I don't think I am surprised because there's been, in my mind, there's been a logic through line for each guy getting through. Like that's why we've had these big debates, these big discussions. For me, every single person in this round today has gotten there for a reason. Sure, some of them it might be luck of the draw, but yeah, I feel like everyone who's here deserves to have gotten past the people they did deserve to get past.
Honestly, like looking at these guys, if any of them won it, there would be a justified reason for it. I think like you could make a case for any of the people, the 8 people that we've got left in this to be the champion of this bracket. So yeah, as I said at the start, there's no easy answers tonight. There's no way out. We're not backing down. We have got to make some tough decisions, and it starts now with what is undoubtedly an interesting matchup. We've got the 1st seed, John Moxley, against the 9th seed, Cody Rhodes. I think we probably know immediately, if you know anything about us, where battle lines have been drawn. Myself, obviously, John Moxley. I'm guessing, Floyd, you're with Cody. It's probably going to come down to you, Imp. So do you mind if we start out by making our opening arguments? And, Floyd, I'm happy to let you kick things off.
Okay, so incorrectly last week, I called Cody AEW Jesus. And as I thought about it this week and looked into the blasphemy of my statement, I realized I picked the wrong biblical character. Cody Rhodes is not AEW Jesus. Cody Rhodes is AEW Moses. He parted the Red Sea, which is WWE, and guided AEW through to the promised land, which is TNT and the WBE network. So, but in this case, Cody did lead the Old Testament, and I have told you everything. He was the general in every means. He brought down the 10 commandments of what is to be AEW. But I am about to shock you. We're not going to go further than this. When it comes down to it, he left us. So I'm picking Mox.
Oh man!
Oh damn!
I did not expect that. I was ready to come off the long run. The long run there.
I'm not trying to cut your legs from under you, but he left us. In the end, he left us. I cannot pick him over Mox. He left us. I love him. I love him. Hey, he's still all over my wall. I still support him in WWE. But we're talking about AEW. Is George Washington turning and joining the British? You know, like what?
Yeah.
What you can't leave us. You can't leave us and win. I argued him as far as I could, justifiably. He's done now.
Yep. I think in particular him going up against John Moxley of all people is really, you know, if he was up against Chris Jericho, MJF, Darby Allin, even Swerve Strickland, definitely you could make a strong argument, you know, based on the historical significance, you know, particularly the early 2019 performance, creating that TNT title, establishing it, which has become like such a big part of the promotion. That, of course, that Double or Nothing 2019 match just is so such an important part of establishing the company. But yeah, it's against John Moxley. Like John Moxley, arguably John Moxley did what Cody Rhodes probably should have been doing in the company, or could have done in the company, in being that ace-like figure who's just at the top for so long, and is that established name that sort of that is in the prime of his career, unlike Chris Jericho, who sort of was the established name, but at the tail end of his career. John Moxley, Cody Rhodes, they're the two guys, and Kenny Omega, you'd probably say as well, the primes of their career. And at the start of AEW, and it was really John Moxley who ran with the ball early through 2020. So when it could have been Cody Rhodes potentially, but it wasn't. And then, as you said, Cody Rhodes left, John Moxley kept on going, and yeah, year after year, it's impossible. I think it's impossible to argue Mox over Cody, unfortunately.
Whenever you need a stabilizing force, when AEW has needed a stabilizing force, they have went to John Moxley. He is the silent leader of this revolution. I mean, I have many arguments, but I told you at the beginning I would shoot this straight, and I don't really. I've had a healthy argument for Cody everywhere else. I don't really have one against Mox.
No, that's fair. Before I throw to you in, Floyd, you did promise me a biblical reference, and that's a cracking one as well. That's a cracking reference, that one. Calling him Moses, I love it. I love it. Particularly, you know, like the speech guy, and it's good. That's good. Anything to add? Obviously, Mox is moving along. He's got at least 2 votes. I'm gathering he'll have your vote as well, unless you want to be the one that tries to argue to Floyd that he should vote for Cody.
I honestly, I was torn between both of them, so I genuinely was going to listen to you both and see what you decided. Because, yeah, I feel like because Cody's historical importance to the company, as we were saying last week, if it's a rating out of 10, his score is 13. Like, he is just so important to the history of AEW. Literally the guy who had the conversation with Dave Meltzer about the first All In. Like, there is no AEW without that happening. So it's, never mind everything else that happened. His historical importance is so incredibly high, and those first few years of the company, incredibly important. But, as Floyd was saying, whenever AEW need a general, whenever AEW just need a helping hand back up, or someone to carry them through a tough time, like be that in the aftermath of Punk, be that in the goodbye of Bryan Danielson, I guess. Death Riders was this all morning Danielson being retired. Just everyone being upset about it. but also through COVID as well. Like, it cannot be understated just how much they've been able to rely on this man over and over and over. And I feel like his importance to the company has just grown over time. Whilst, I'm assuming something that led to Floyd's decision, Cody's has obviously diminished. So it's like a polar opposite graph where Moxley has now overtaken Cody in terms of importance, which, to be fair, was a lot of what we were talking about in earlier rounds, where people who hadn't quite overtaken yet, even though it feels like they're going to, I guess people like Kyle Fletcher, people like Bandido, where they might be higher up. But yeah, Cody is very important, but also not an AEW guy. So it's, I feel like that's what promotes Moxley's vote.
And the last thing I'll add about Cody, he kind of continues to talk shit about AEW. It's like he's trying to undo, like, you know, in essence what he did. Like I said, I want y'all to know I'm shooting straight, but, you know, my loyalty and love goes with Mr. Rhodes, but this is the AEW greatest ever. At this point, he's got to go.
Yeah, it's interesting you say it. I feel like Cody walks a very fine line in that he knows that legacy-wise, one of the things that sets him apart from, say, a Roman Reigns or, you know, his contemporaries in WWE is what he did in AEW, and from a legacy position and position himself as like, I've no doubt he wants to be known as the greatest wrestler of his generation. He knows that his role in founding AEW is something that sets him apart from most other people. So, you know, he always talks about it, but you're right. He certainly, you can tell where his, I guess, his political allegiances lie in the AEW landscape by the people that he actually shouts out. So yeah, look, Floyd, anything last to say about Cody Rhodes before we farewell him from this bracket and move Jon Moxley along?
Thank you, Cody. That's all I got.
Yep, agreed. A founding member, and absolutely, you know, he's still part of the logo of this podcast here. So let's move along, though. This is going to be a tougher one. Number 4, my 4th seed, MJF, against the 5th seed, Chris Jericho. Imp, I'm going to let you kick this one off.
Ooh, so, yeah, I have been going back and forth on this one. Where
no easy
Jericho
answers, mate.
No easy answers. So Jericho had that very important early role, first ever AEW champion. He was the guy relied upon as, this is the name that you know that can help establish AEW on TV. He was using such a pivotal role, and he was needed for AEW at that point. Like, there's a lot of talent there, but they needed somebody just to get viewers through the door in the first place. And Jericho was that guy. And yeah, his importance as that first champion to just prop up the company. Not just to like prop up certain wrestlers and obviously give the ball to Jon Moxley, but the whole company. That's a huge shoulders to be lifted on. But it's a weird one where he does outstay his welcome as the years go on. Like, the Inner Circle, I think, stays pretty strong. Even the babyface ones seem to go over relatively well. I'd say that it builds into the first Blood and Guts with the Mufasa moment with MJF. Like, it all. I feel like Jericho's career builds pretty nicely, even into the Jericho Appreciation Society, because at that point we hadn't seen the pattern repeated. And it's like, okay, the Inner Circle kind of felt like it was time for it to go. So they build up Jericho Appreciation Society. Like, okay, here we go. It's Jericho doing something different with a new group. And then you slowly realize, oh, wait, no. There's some form of like weird vortex thing where his feuds just don't end. And they all outstay their welcome. They just keep going. Be it Orange Cassidy or be it whoever he's feuding with, they always went on too long, and they just got this feeling of just, can this just end, please? Like, which was just that animosity just started to grow a little bit, and then by the time we get to his learning tree gimmick, there's just, I don't know if the word is apathy, but there's definitely that thing of he didn't leave us. So because he was constantly there was just that feeling of, like, I wouldn't mind if he just went away for a little bit kind of feeling to him. And that just seemed to balloon in the last like year or two. So for Jericho, it's a weird one. Whilst with MJF, he had a meteoric rise, like in AEW's early years, and especially like into his feud with CM Punk, which was for me CM Punk's best feud. I absolutely adored the work that MJF was doing, thought he was 100% the right guy to put the title on at the time. And his title run does start really well, especially with the Danielson Ironman match. Like, he has a really hot start to his title run. Unfortunately, there's a reason almost Kenny Omega is brought in towards the end to give him a good match because he's in desperate need of a good match at that point at the end of his run. But so MJF has a weird legacy in AEW in a little bit. If I'm specifically comparing it to Chris Jericho, both of them have really high points and both of them have quite low points. But I feel like MJF has done the thing I was just talking about, where it's that one person started as way more important higher up the graph. But as time has gone on, MJF has risen above Chris Jericho. And right now, MJF is more important to AEW than Chris Jericho is. Oh, so I think I'm going MJF. I think I've convinced myself.
I wanted to nail you down on one before you pass over to Floyd or I. I know who I want to... I'll go next. Actually, no, Floyd, I'm curious on your thoughts on this. I want to know who you're going with.
Okay, I'm going to save my more detailed MJF notes for the next round, but I'm going with MJF. And the reason being is I love Jericho, love what he did, he was the name that AEW needed to get on TV. So I really want to shout that out. Like, they don't get TV without the name Chris Jericho, right? So I really want to shout that out. And a lot of the stuff that he did, he did a good job of focusing on still trying to put some of the entertainment aspect into wrestling. I know some purists didn't want it, but it was needed because, when you're trying to get fans from the other company, they need something that's familiar. And so Chris Jericho did that. I love him, but it's like if this was from 2019 to 2022, he's probably beating MJF. But now we're up to 2025. MJF is the guy in the company as far as the lead heel. So, yeah, MJF.
I think my pick was also going to be MJF as well. Chris, I was very torn on it as well. Chris Jericho, I would say I would give the edge to in historical importance, particularly given what Tony Khan has said about what Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega's match meant in terms of giving him a view that there's an appetite for wrestling, a large-scale wrestling audience that could be monetized outside of the WWE. I feel like, and as we said, his work is the first champion all through 2019. I recently watched his promo on the second ever Dynamite, where he is just in such good form. He introduces this team out of nothing, where you've got unknowns, Proud and Powerful and Sammy Guevara, and then you've got Jake Hager, who is a joke at that point, but immediately Jericho makes serious. Masterful work early on, absolutely. I think some of the best work of his career. I was a big Jericho fan when I first got into wrestling, and I remained it. But yeah, it's hard to say he hasn't outstayed his welcome. I'm of the mind that he should continue to be signed by AEW, that they should try and keep his number in the playbook, so to speak, for legacy reasons because of how much he means historically. But I think when you look at performance over the time with AEW, even though MJF has had some negatives, Chris Jericho's performances has really tailed off in a dramatic way. So I would also go MJF over Chris Jericho, despite that, as I said, that historical importance and historical legacy. I would say outside of the EVPs, Chris Jericho is probably the next most important person. But MJF moves along. As per the seeding, we'll get Jon Moxley and MJF, the first and fourth seeds, meeting up in the semi-finals. Let's move along. We've got number 2, the second seed, Adam Page versus the 7th seed, Darby Allin. These guys are... It's interesting. I feel like... I'll go first in this one. I feel like these guys occupy very similar positions, but Adam Page is just a couple of years ahead of Darby Allin in terms of where he's at in his career and has always been that in AEW. They started out where Adam Page was the member of the elite that was least known, but he was more known and he was immediately like a main eventer in AEW, whereas Darby Allin was someone that people loved and gravitated towards, but he was very new in AEW, and it's sort of remained that Page has just been ahead of Darby Allin. Even though Darby Allin's performances have been stellar, I would argue he's probably, Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy are probably the two best TV performers that AEW's had, but when you look at, the performances in the main event, Darby Allin just really hasn't been given that spot in the way that Hangman Adam Page has been. It seems like he's getting there at this point, and, maybe next year there could be an argument, if depending the way the chips fall with injuries and whatnot, that Darby Allin could be looking at his first AEW championship run. But, it's hard to argue that he is in a greater position, that he is more important to AEW historically than Adam Page. It's hard to argue that his performance in matches has been better than Adam Page, and you definitely can't argue that his promos or stories have been better than Adam Page. It's just, even though, they're sort of on similar footing, one of them is just ahead of the other.
Oh, I was waiting for you to pick one of us, but it's hard.
Anyone can jump in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as much as I want to get rid of the horse face guy, the horsey, dude, I mean, I hate when people say that he's the main character. He's the main protagonist of AEW. He is the main protagonist of AEW. And the company, from the very beginning, was about telling his story, and they did it over, 2 years? And it was great. You got moments inside the ring. You got moments outside the ring. The drinking, all the different things his character has went through. It has defined a lot of AEW. So I would love to pick Darby. I would love to pick Darby, but I mean, this one is Hangman's the guy. And I was looking at Darby's cage match, and I was looking at the top 100 matches in AEW history or whatever. He doesn't have a singles wrestling match in it at all. Hangman's quite often in there, So
very often.
Yeah, he is often.
We'll get into that later.
Yes, he's often in there. So, that's why I didn't say the exact number, because got to save it for later. But yeah, I think unfortunately in this case, Darby has went as far as he can go.
Imp, anything to say about Darby Allin before we eliminate him?
I mean, so far it's been quite an easy day for me. I thought I was going to struggle. But I pretty much fall on a mixture of what both of you have said, where I feel like Darby Allin, he's got this heart of AEW about him, but with Hangman being the main character and just being further along in his career, it feels like Darby Allin could catch up. I even argued on my Wrestle Dream review for Darby Allin to be the guy who dethrones Hangman, because it finally felt like they'd established him as a main event guy rather than a featured player. It's like it finally got to that point. But me saying that sentence automatically means in this context here, Hangman has to go through, because I'm saying that. I'm literally saying in my own review of the modern product that Darby Allin is just now established to possibly be the next one, which means that Hangman's the current one. So yeah, I'm as much as I love Darby Allin, as much as I love his car crash title reigns, where but that TNT title run with the Samoa Joe stuff was, for me, just exceptional. And for me, proved what kind of champion Darby Allin can be. Because obviously people have got a picture in their mind of what they think the champion of the company could be. But there's nothing wrong with Darby Allin picking it up and going just crazy for 2-3 months and then losing it because his body is just broken. Like, that's absolutely fine. And but Hangman is the main character. We talked about with the current status with Ospreay and Swerve with the heart and the soul. But then Hangman is the main character. Like from day one with his whole arc to finally beating Kenny Omega or those years later to now with his whole heel arc against Swerve and then finally redeeming himself.
I'll get you to pause talking about Hangman. We'll have plenty of time to talk about him later.
Yep.
I know we want to wax lyric about him.
Literally, because of what we're going to be talking about next. I've literally entered that territory.
Yep.
So... Yeah. So extract me from the swamp.
It should be It should be also be noted, business performance wise, Darby Allin's TNT title runs have always done really well with TV ratings. Both of the TNT title runs he's had have done very well with TV ratings. So there's nothing to say. I think you're right there, Im. Like, there's nothing to say you couldn't have a short 3-month just where Darby Allin goes on a tear until his body can't take it anymore in the story and physically. No doubt he would actually do that outside of kayfabe, but also in the story, it's, that's been the story of both of his title runs. It's just he, keeps taking on more and more and more until his body literally can't take it anymore, and he runs up against a Miro or a Samoa Joe who is just too big of a wall for him to run through. So, yeah, that would be a fun program. But we do have to eliminate Darby Allin in the quarterfinals. He had a good run, did well beating CM Punk. I was hoping that we'd get CM Punk, Hangman Adam Page this week, but instead it was Darby Allin that got rid of Punk. I was hoping that the Hangman would be able to do it, but alas, he instead eliminates Darby Allin. Let's move along. Funnily enough, I think this last one is the one that in my mind I can make the best argument for, Kenny Omega versus Swerve Strickland. So just allow me to lay this out, guys, because the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to lean towards Swerve Strickland in this. Because the more I look at Kenny Omega's run in AEW, the more I realize that he had a really good start, but since 2021, when he finished up as champion, he has really, particularly as a singles wrestler, has been really hit or miss in terms of not just his appearances, but his performance in stories. His performance in matches has always been incredible, and he's always given his most. But his performance in stories and promos since he returned has not been great, to be frank. And it sometimes has actually worked seemingly against the programs that he's in. Whereas if you compare that to Swerve Strickland and the rise that Strickland has had in AEW, coming in sort of as a bit of a lower profile WWE cast off. Swerve was in the main roster for a cup of coffee, but really was, for the most part, an NXT wrestler and was never the headlining NXT wrestler. He was someone who was featured on NXT, but he was never, the NXT champion, the singles guy in NXT. And yet, through his work in a tag team and then working his way through the mid-card as a singles wrestler, he has made himself into one of the most important wrestlers in AEW today. He's been a pivotal figure in probably, I'd say he's been part of the best story that AEW has told in the Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland story. And his consistency at the top, his ability to present himself as a champion, the way he holds himself, I honestly think that there is an argument for him over Kenny Omega, which seems wild to me because as I said, when you're talking historical importance for the company, Kenny Omega is one of the EVPs. He's one of the 13s out of 10, but Swerve Strickland makes an argument that he's a 10 out of 10 for historical importance for the way that he's come up, the fact he's the first ever black champion that AEW has had, and also his importance in those amazing stories that him and Hangman have been able to tell. Who is anyone else, or either of you on board with Swerve Strickland over Kenny Omega?
I mean, I realised I literally just spoiled my pick when I started talking about Hangman and Swerve. I was like, oh wait, no, pull me out. We're about to do that one. And I was like, oh wait, no, damn it, I spoiled my pick. I'm leaning Swerve because it was when we were looking at this, and we are at that point where we're having to be highly critical of people we love. Like the final rounds of the traitors. I love you, mate, but not on my team. But we're being really critical because obviously that importance of Kenny Omega, and for me, both of these people are really important in Hangman Page, who is the main character. Both of these people played pivotal roles in the high points of those runs as well. But it's when you look at Kenny Omega's, as you were saying, from 2021 onwards, obviously very understandable for some of it. It's yes, you did have quite a big problem. So it makes sense that Kenny would, because obviously it's before the diverticulitis as well, with the whole deal with Punk and I guess we talk about single stuff.
Yeah, he was never cutting promos.
Yeah, during that whole time. And then also they get suspended as well during that trios run as well. So he's physically not even there. But also that doesn't count for this either. So there's a huge period where he's doing the trio stuff, which doesn't count for this. Also, weirdly, his what's regarded as still one of the best AEW matches of all time doesn't count to this list. Don't forget about that. But yeah, I still feel like singles-wise, his best stuff isn't in AEW. Which
I was going to say that
to Hangman.
Yes.
So yeah, if you compare that to Hangman, like his best stuff is in AEW, and he's been featured heavily to get across as that main character. I've realised talked about Hangman. Swerve is somebody who's just on the rise and keeps getting more and more important to the company. And in that period where Kenny Omega fell off, that's where Swerve has just risen. And that's kind of why I'm going with Swerve, where Kenny Omega is obviously very important, and he was somebody who helped create what that feeling is for AEW, for the style of wrestling it wants to put on. That whole thing, that moniker they use now of this is where the best wrestle. What really helps that even be a thing is Kenny Omega being there from day one in AEW. He's one of the guys who, like with John Moxley, with Pac, that were really establishing that. And you cannot understate the importance of that. And even to this day, Kenny Omega is somebody who can generate dream matches, which is like a really important role. Arguably the role that Danielson was previously filling. In a way, Kenny Omega is kind of doing that now. He is the guy who will generate you a dream match. Or even just like something off a whim like the Vikingo match. Just like, we're just going to put this on the main event randomly with no build, and it's absolutely incredible. Just like really elevated Vikingo. But really with Swerve, he's so important to AEW. And he has become like a main player guy who draws so much good attention through his hip-hop work as well to AEW, which cannot be understated either. So I'm going with Swerve, but I'm doing it whilst really propping up Kenny. Like we said last week that we're finally going to talk about Kenny Omega, and we've done it by slagging him off.
Floyd, are we talking crazy here? The more I think about it, the more I'm convinced it's Swerve, but I'm recoiling from doing this because it's Kenny Omega. Like, it's Kenny Omega.
Okay, so I went into my research because I actually did research this week because I knew how hard these were going to be. And I went in going to try to make the argument for Swerve. And I think your arguments are great. But when it comes down to it, you're saying, we said if somebody is so exceptional in one thing that they blow the other person out the water, I have to go with it. The top 100 AEW matches on Cage Match, Kenny Omega's in 24 of them. 24 out of the 100. He is damn near a quarter of the 100. 11 are our singles matches. 1's a triple threat. 12 is either tag or multi-man matches. Kenny Omega is the standard which work rate is set in AEW. Will Ospreay, can he get on the level? Is he the next Kenny Omega? When you talk about the working style that is AEW, the person you compare it to is Kenny Omega. And that's going to be the way 50 years from now. It's the Kenny Omega line. 24 out of 100. Kenny Omega is so exceptional at that one thing. One thing. Wrestler of the Year, all that stuff. He's so exceptional at that one thing. He is also a founding father. First AEW champion to win his title on Dynamite. All the different belts he's held in the company. Everything matters more when Kenny Omega is involved. I love Swerve. Love Swerve. I went in ready to argue Swerve. This changed my mind to Kenny Omega.
Here's what I'm thinking now. Here's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
this is the maths that I'm doing. I'm going through the criteria, right?
Uh-huh.
Performance, matches. Probably the edge goes to Kenny Omega just for pure amount of great matches, which the issue we're having, because I've now also clicked open the cage matches, a lot of it is earlier on. It's things, like Pac versus Pac in an Iron Man match, the series against John Moxley. So I'm giving the edge to Kenny Omega there. Stories, promos. Kenny was pivotal in the rise of Hangman. Swerve, pivotal in what happened to Hangman after that. But Kenny Omega also has other great stories, like the story with John Moxley. I'm going to kind of give them a bit of a wash, because Swerve also has incredible stuff with Danielson. So does Kenny Omega. It's really a bit of a wash performance-wise, I feel like.
24
I think
to
Swerve gives much better promos than Kenny Omega. That is the one place he really stands out there. Business performance, both have really great peaks. Kenny Omega was the champion when AEW had its real growth peak in 2021, coming out of the pandemic. They had that string of sold out houses before Punk got there. He technically is the main event for the most successful pay-per-view they've done for box office wise, for pure gate, not gate, pay-per-views buys wise in All Out 2021, also for Full Gear 2021. But Swerve Strickland, he's done Wembley, like he main evented Wembley. So business performance wise, and he was also a big part of what made AEW sort of have a bit more of a positive trajectory at the start of this year. So, that's sort of a bit of a wash business performance. Consistency peak, like both of them have arguments otherwise, but historical importance, as much as I'm trying to convince myself Swerve Strickland is important historically for AEW, he's not as important as Kenny Omega. And that's where I'm going to lean. I think I'm going to give my vote to Kenny Omega after leaning towards Swerve, just because I think just the recency bias of Swerve's, and Swerve having such strong performances more recently than Kenny Omega having strong performances. But when I'm thinking about Kenny Omega, and I did have in my mind his two best matches have been in the Tokyo Dome for New Japan, which is a bit annoying. But at the end of the day, like, he still had amazing matches in AEW. But Kenny Omega, the series with Okada and the series with Jericho are so pivotal for creating the movement for AEW. Him, being part of AEW when it started, the champion for quite a long time. He was the longest reigning champion at one point. Yeah, I think that's where he really gets it over Swerve. So, oh man, it's a tight one though.
I think.
Have you got anything else to say, or has Floyd convinced you as well?
I was going to say, it feels like Floyd, talking about it like this, it kind of has convinced me, and it's made me realise, as I think I am doing, before we started recording, we're talking about thinking with your emotion rather than your logic. Whatever. And I feel like this is a great example of that, where I think on an emotional level, we all want to put Swerve through. But when you think about it, when you actually look at it, it's like, but it has to be Kenny, though. As much as we want to put Swerve through. And we even argued the case properly for doing it. But then Floyd raises that point of, yeah, but think about it, though. Just think about it. So, yeah, unfortunately, after we've talked about it in depth, I've been convinced I would go Kenny as well. It's a sweep.
Sorry, Swerve, if you hear this, don't hate me. I still love you, but 24 of the 100 matches feature Kenny Omega.
Yep.
I mean, of Swerve's 10 matches, 4 are with Adam Page.
I mean, Hangman Adam Page is pretty damn good. We'll get there later. I will say, like, I think, man, it's a tough decision. But, if we want to have if we needed to have any convincing, on the Discord earlier this week when we started talking about when we put the initial things, because we're recording a little bit ahead of what we've posted on the podcast, but we put up the brackets, we put up the things. I asked who people thought would win, and Rich Latter, who could not be more of Swerve Strickland's boy, he put Kenny Omega as the one to win it. So, I feel like we've made the right decision. We've kind of wanted to go with this. I think everyone loves a Cinderella story, right? We'd love for Swerve to get through, but hasn't happened. Let's move on to the semifinals. We have two decisions to make. We've got Jon Moxley and MJF, and then we've got Adam Page and Kenny Omega. Gentlemen, let's kick off Jon Moxley and MJF. I think everyone knows who my vote will go for, and I'll leave the floor open for you guys. But before I just do that, I'm just going to say one word that I think should be the deciding factor or dispel anything from your minds that would see you go elsewhere, and that word is brochachos. Imp Floyd, any response? Any rebuttal?
Yes. I think I'm going with MJF. The reason I'm going with MJF is in a world where you say Hangman's the main character, right? He's the main protagonist of AEW. The person that is held down, the main villain of AEW, pretty much this whole time. Anytime anyone needed a villain, that villain was MJF. I'm talking for Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho. I have the list here of all the feuds that he's been in. Yeah, Cody, Jericho, Hangman, Ospreay, Darby Allin, Wardlow, Briscoe, Ricky Starks, Daniel Garcia. You have needed a villain. No one can become over. No one can reach the top without this villain. He is the Lex Luthor of AEW. I used that before Tony Khan did. He stole it from me. He is the Lex Luthor of AEW. And when any position that you put him in, he thrives. Whether it is the main, as long as he's a villain. I want to make sure that's clear. He thrives in it. He makes people love the other guy that he's in. Like, people love Mark Briscoe, but man, MJF bringing up his dead brother all the time. Oh my God. He's like if Kenny Omega and Christian had a baby, because he does Christian level heel work, and then he can have Kenny Omega level matches. And it's just like the dog collar match with Punk. The foundation. See, when Jon Moxley was brought into AEW, he was brought in as the guy. His first person he attacked was Kenny Omega. He was put in a main event match with Kenny Omega pretty quickly. It was like he was the guy. MJF started off in a match against Kip Sabian. And he had to prove himself rung by rung on every level, whether it is through the inner circle, whether it's getting his group at the pinnacle, the presidential run that was supposed to be against Jon Moxley at the first All Out. He is so, when it talks about the historic accuracy of AEW, he is an AEW guy. I love Jon Moxley, but Jon Moxley, part of his career, he was the guy that came from WWE. He is Dean Ambrose too. He is the Shield. He is all of that. But MJF is strictly AEW MJF. He is strictly Lex Luthor. He is strictly the one that goes out and he's at the movies. He's everywhere. He's doing media. He's saying MJF, AEW. We're offering the alternative. The bidding war of 2024. And he worked everybody. Everybody thought he could sign with WWE, and there was no fucking chance. This dude lives this business. He lives this gimmick. He is everything that you want from a wrestler to represent your company. I, again, love Jon Moxley. You cannot take away what he's done for AEW. He is the stabilizing force. Don't get me wrong. But when you talk about strictly inside of AEW, there is no more important of a figure inside the world of AEW than MJF.
Oh, this is a difficult... Oh, wait, semi-finals. This has got to be difficult. So for me, I was just trying to compare, because both of them have such high importance to AEW. How much do their lows drag them down? And I was just, whilst Floyd was talking, I was just doing the maths on it. What amount of time was the Bochachos? And I was like, was it only 4 months? And then it kicks into heel Adam Cole, quite literally with a broken foot, and then the turn as well. I was trying to think. So with Moxley, the start of the Death Riders, I would maybe argue is where there was a bit of negativity towards creatively what he was doing. And that's only really, a 4-month period? I think once we get past Serious Cope, and yes, I know we're about to enter Serious Cope again in real times, but once we left Serious Cope stuff in after Revolution, I feel like the Moxley title run hits such an incredible stride all the way to All In. So for me, that negativity period is only about 4 months. With MJF, it's the summer run with Cole, with the Bochachos thing. Then I feel like once that curtails into the Cole heel turn, it gets worse, I think. And that goes all the way to World's End at the end of the year. So it's a much longer time period of NAF. The thing that makes it difficult is outside of each of their respective lulls, I'll call it, they're both exceptional. They're both so incredibly important in two different ways. What Floyd just argued for MJF, I feel like, is 100% correct. And Sam, your love for Moxley is also 100% correct. So it's such an even dance. Do I go really boring and go, well, MJF's lull was technically longer. And at this point in the competition, where we're really fine-combing what the negative stances on things. But I've been really into feuds from both of them. Like I think of both of them with their work with CM Punk. Like how do they both deal with that dickhead? Well, MJF had an exceptional story with CM Punk, and John Moxley arguably saved the summer when Punk was throwing his tantrum. He saved that entire thing. Yes, it was wrapped around interim championship bollocks, but for me, that shows just how well Moxley did to make that work. Like oh man, I feel like I am leading towards Mox. Like I don't feel like I've been fully convinced that MJF is above Mox. Oh my God, it's so close.
Before you go, Floyd, I'm going to have to talk.
Okay. Yeah.
There may be... Go on.
No, I have nothing to say. I'm listening to you.
Go on, Floyd.
No, I was confirming you. Okay. I'm listening to you. Sorry.
There may be a day for when MJF is more important to AEW than John Moxley, but it is not yet. John Moxley has been the most important wrestler for AEW to have in terms of his reliability, consistency, and at the very top of the promotion. Just to give you an idea of how important John Moxley has been for AEW in terms of his positioning on the card and where he has been. AEW has so far had 37 pay-per-views in its history. John Moxley has been in the men's championship match in 19 of those pay-per-views, and in 2 more pay-per-views he has been in the main event in matches that have been non-championship. That's matches with Kenny Omega in 2019 in their very first year, and the most recent pay-per-view they had with Darby Allin in 2025. John Moxley has been champion for the most amount of time out of any AEW wrestler, any AEW male wrestler, and he has been champion at the most pivotal times in the company's history when everything could have gone completely tits up. When COVID happened, AEW could have absolutely fallen off a cliff. It's what happened to WWE. John Moxley as a hero that AEW needed to have. Floyd, you said MJF was the protagonist, the ultimate protagonist. AEW needed a protagonist. Well,
antagonist.
Sorry, antagonist. Well, AEW, an antagonist, correct? Yep. Well, AEW also needs a protagonist. And while you could say it has also been Hangman Page because he has had this sweeping character arc, the guy that has been at the top for the majority of the time and in that pivotal time that I'm talking about, 2020, was Jon Moxley. He was the guy that was the champion. He was cutting the promos. He was holding the belt. He was putting together defenses, and he put together an incredible reign in 2020, which made him win the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Flair Thez Award for that year, how outstanding he was. Come 2022, once again, the company needs someone because the champion, CM Punk, is injured and they need to crown a new champion. So who do they go to? They go to Jon Moxley, who once again has another incredible run through the summer as champion of 2022 when, you know, there's a lot happening backstage that is distracting from the company. But the one person who is stabilizing it at the top, Jon Moxley, he then goes to hand it back to CM Punk. And what happens? CM Punk screws up again. He gets suspended and cut a promo to save the promotion. Jon Moxley needs to cut a promo to save the promotion. MJF was out there that same night. No one remembers. He was in the ring with Jon Moxley right before Jon Moxley said that. No one remembers the thing that MJF said, but everyone remembers Moxley saying, when stuff like this happens, the ace wants the ball and I want the ball. Everyone remembers that. People were saying that speech should be engraved and put on the back of the AEW championship or put at Gorilla in AEW so people know what AEW is about. As I said, MJF has been important to AEW. He has had an amazing come up, which most people knew would happen. He has fulfilled the talent that he has had. When Jon Moxley came into AEW, he was a failed WWE project in many people's eyes. People had written off Dean Ambrose, but Jon Moxley gave the best work of his career. 2 out of the years that he has been in AEW, he's been awarded as the most outstanding wrestler by the Wrestling Observer Newsletter. He has had countless incredible matches. I think he would go match for match. He would go match for match with MJF and win. I think he'd go promo for promo with MJF and win. And his historical importance to the company, as evidenced by how featured he has been in championship matches and main event feuds, is greater than MJF. I don't think you can put MJF over Jon Moxley.
Okay.
Floyd, any rebuttals?
Yes. Promos. You're incorrect. 21-22 best on interviews. Who won that? MJF. Who has never won it? Jon Moxley. So you can't even put Jon Moxley on the same level as MJF. You used the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Award, so I'm using one too. So, most charismatic.
Okay, well, I'll give you promos. When has MJF won the Flair Thez, the overall award?
No, I'm saying that's kind of the balances each other out, right?
No, because the overall award is greater than just being best at promos. The overall award is about business and performance in ring.
No, Flair Thez is just in-ring performance.
It is not.
No, Flair Thez is in-ring performance. The other Wrestler of the Year is about business metrics.
I think you're incorrect there, Floyd, but we'll continue on.
All right, most charismatic, 2020, 2022, and
the Flair Thez is the Flair Thez is the Wrestler of the Year. Cody Rhodes is the most recent winner.
Okay. Again, we talk about best interviews. MJF has him beat, destroyed him. Never won it.
Oh, get out of here! Destroyed him. I mean, absolutely not.
He won in 2020.
No, I will not accept that.
2021 and 2022, and Moxley's never won it.
I will not accept that.
Go find him in the top 3 or something, but I doubt he's in there. All right, most charismatic 2020, 2022, 2023. MJF. MJF has what was I have here? MJF has Le Dinner Debonair, a musical performance that killed at the time. Like his promo segments, his stuff outside of the ring destroys Jon Moxley. It's not even close. The birth of the Pinnacle, Cody getting beat with the belt. These are top segments in the history of AEW that everybody remembers. They are celebrated yearly. Jon Moxley doesn't have anything like that.
Jon Moxley...
Not one. He does not one. He is like the most like one-note type wrestler ever. I'm tough. Grr.
A one-note type wrestler? Okay.
I mean, how's he not one note?
Let's talk about the variety of Jon Moxley's performances and that he's been able to have at the top. He's had matches at the top of the card. These are championship matches,
No, I'm not talking about matches.
I
am literally not talking about matches. I'm talking about his character is one note.
I disagree, and that's evidenced in his performance.
Disagree? Make an argument. Tell me how his character is not one note.
So just before you do that, just define what you mean by one note.
I'm a really tough fighter guy. That's all he is. There's no real charisma. There's no real charisma to him.
Jon Moxley's character in AEW, there's different parts of his character because he's displayed different facets of it as a face and a heel. As a face, Jon Moxley's character is a working class hero. He is someone that works hard and he creates bonds with the people who are around him based on their shared respect for one another and their ability to give everything in the fight. It's why when he had his matches with Eddie Kingston, for instance, he was able to fight Eddie Kingston to the death almost, but come out wanting to shake his hand because Jon Moxley has a sense of respect that is earned through communal bloodshed. And if you want to, he values hard work. He values the bonds that formed, and he doesn't value material things in the way that MJF does. The reason that he values the AEW Championship so much is because it's evidence of the work and the fight that he has been able to put himself through to get to there. It's why he has relationships with guys like Eddie Kingston. It's why he also respects and has the relationship he does with Darby Allin, because he can see himself in Darby Allin. He can see that love of putting his body to an extreme position in the pursuit of wrestling and the pursuit of excellence in wrestling. Saying that he is a one-note character is absolutely false. If you want to look at it from like a purely, a skin-deep level, you could say exactly the same thing about MJF. I'm not going to try and trivialize MJF's character by making that, because MJF has also shown that he has depth to his character, just like Jon Moxley has shown that he has depth to his character.
I disagree, because to me, you just made my argument, because the whole Jon Moxley thing, he just wants the world to look like him. As a heel, as a face, he wants the people that look like him. As a heel, he's mad because wrestling doesn't look like him anymore. So he just wants it to look like him again. He's the same guy. MJF has shown true vulnerability. I didn't even know what a rejection sensitivity disorder was until MJF cut a promo on it in the middle of the ring, talking about his ADHD and showing true vulnerability, and you felt brokenhearted when Adam Cole turned on him. That was true vulnerability, nothing that he shows as a heel. So that is what I'm talking about as a character.
People did not feel brokenhearted when Adam Cole turned on him. People went, is that seriously it? Because the performance that MJF put in that feud and the creative that MJF mapped out destroyed people's interest in the company. People were turning off the TV because of that program with Adam Cole that you're now claiming like is such a deep character thing, and it made people connect with him. It may have at first, but people fell off that program so hard because the company was struggling, and they needed to do a massive correction. They needed to launch a new campaign of restoring the feeling because MJF screwed up so much as the main eventer, something Jon Moxley has never done.
He did. I mean, earlier this year with the Death Rider shit, he did.
And then he corrected it.
I mean, he corrected it, but he did
They
screw
corrected
up.
it by taking the championship off MJF and putting it on someone who was the polar opposite. Someone who is, ironically, very like Jon Moxley and Samoa Joe.
They only took it off MJF because he was injured, sir. That's the only reason they took the belt off MJF. So let me correct you there. That dude was walking wounded, and he had to take months off because he was so hurt. That's why they took the belt off him.
But after he lost, the entire thing was, we're going to restore the feeling. Even when MJF came back, he was talking about how like he stuffed up last time, which is, as I said, as I repeat, something Jon Moxley has never done.
The Death Riders, dude, I have a January 15th show where I am literally, the Death Rider shit was so bad, I was almost done watching AEW.
And I was also, I was no fan of the Death Riders at that time, but they corrected it.
They corrected it like in June, but it still was like 6 months of shit. No one cared about that Death Riders thing. No one cared about it. What they did was make the rest of the show good and ignored the Death Riders. That's what they did to fix it. Well, the Death Riders didn't get good until June.
Let's put a wash between the Brochachos and the Death Riders. Let's just say those two cancel each other out. I think that the Brochachos is worse because it continued on in a way. The Death Riders actually corrected themselves as they continued on. The Adam Cole MJF got worse. But if you want, we can just put those two to the side and say, okay, they both had one shit run. But let's look at the top. And I think like the top run, the length for Jon Moxley is better. The matches are better. MJF has, some great matches. Jon Moxley has more. Moxley has the I Quit match with Eddie Kingston. He has Texas Death match with Adam Cole. Adam Page. He has match with Bryan Danielson, match with Chris Jericho, multiple matches with Chris Jericho, multiple matches with Kenny Omega that are all very highly ranked matches. And MJF has got some good highly ranked matches, but not as many as Jon Moxley.
Yeah, I'm talking about the dollar.
Particularly as I said before, in championship matches, in main events, Jon Moxley has proved himself more than MJF has over the years.
I will say this. Jon Moxley has just gotten more opportunities than MJF. It is not that he has proven himself to be any better than MJF. He's just got more opportunities because of how they were booked at the beginning. MJF has come further along and defined himself more under the AEW window, which is what we're talking about, than Jon Moxley.
I would say Jon Moxley has massively proved himself in the AEW window. As I said, people had written Jon Moxley off before he got to AEW. And he has proved himself to be one of the great wrestlers of his generation.
I believe MJF is the most all-around complete performer in AEW's history. And it's all been developed under AEW's umbrella, which means he is more important to AEW than Jon Moxley.
Okay, Floyd, you and I, we've butted heads for quite a while. I'll bring Imp back in because Imp, as you said, may happen. It's at the start of this. You have the deciding vote, and it seems like both Floyd and I are intractable in our opinions in this instance.
Genuinely, we're going back and forth for so long, I don't know if I've already spoken. So we'll see. We'll see. I am definitely leaning towards Jon Moxley, which makes me think I have already spoken. But yeah, I still think Jon Moxley. I think quite genuinely though, this is easily the most even pairing we've had. This is so difficult because they both have such high positives for completely different reasons. So it's quite difficult to pair them. I think writing off the Bachacho stuff and the Death Riders stuff, I feel like, because that's what I was talking about, where I was trying to figure out the time period for it, but I'm like, if you just cancel them out and then just look at everything else they've done, MJF 100% has proved himself as main character going forward, whilst Jon Moxley arrived as a main character, which gives him a leg up in this tournament. Jon Moxley's been in that position to become AEW champion and save AEW from bad periods on more than one occasion, whilst MJF isn't that kind of character. And that's nothing to do with the wrestler. It's just that character isn't the kind of guy you'd put in those positions because it doesn't make any sense. So it's an odd one where both of them are in such... they're in the semi-final for a reason. But I feel like I'm definitely leaning Jon Moxley. But as Sam said before, I feel like right at the start of, I called it Your Two's Riff, right at the start of that, Sam made the point of Oh, don't forget it now, Matt.
It was a long time ago, so.
It was so long ago. And I was holding it for like 20 minutes. I'd be like, I can come back to this. I've forgotten it, sod it. Oh, well. I'm in my 30s. This is going to happen now. It's going to happen. But yeah, they are so close in terms of their accolades and their importance to AEW. But they mean different things to AEW. And that's kind of where I struggle. But I still think Jon Moxley, personally for me, but it's so tight that I don't even know if I'm using logic to decide that. I think it is literally just a feeling. And I'm doing to be fair, it's so tight, it's so close. I am now allowed to bring emotion into it. And that's where I would personally just lean Jon Moxley. Oh, that's the point Sam was making. The point Sam was making was it's for this time period. I think Jon Moxley wins this. However, going forward, there's a very strong chance that MJF is going to be more important to AEW. It's just right now, for this period that we are assessing, Jon Moxley has been more important for this specific spread. But both of them are so incredibly important that we're picking hairs. Like it's so damn close between these two. Because Floyd is right with all the stuff MJF has done, and Sam's right for all the stuff that Mox has done. So I stand here being like, well, you're both right. So it's a draw. But I'm not allowed to pick a draw. So I go with Jon Moxley, and I'm outright saying there is no logic to that pick. It is literally just a feeling.
Dude, and I respect it. I respect both of you. I just knew I was coming in. I was like fighting out of my weight class in this one because, I mean, honestly, let's be real. Jon Moxley's probably the pick. But I have felt so strongly with the MJF character and how he's identified in AEW that I do truly think under the AEW umbrella, he is the most important person. I mean, this wasn't a show. I truly believe that. But I can't argue too hard when it's Jon Moxley. He is, like I said, he's the Undertaker in a lot of ways. He is the respect of AEW. He is the most stand-up person in AEW. So it's just like, I knew I was fighting a losing battle, but I think I gave it an effort.
Well, there'll be one more Jon Moxley argument to have. So we've got he moves through to the final. It sounds like, it's certainly a hard fought one, and just to back you up there, vibes is a part of the criteria, so you are well within your rights to do that. And to be fair to you, Floyd, like you haven't connected with John. You don't connect with Jon Moxley the way that say myself does. Like you and I have talked regularly about how the different heroes that we like. I like Jon Moxley. You like Cody Rhodes, and they are very different. In their approach to materiality and
I'll never
the way they
watch
present
Die Hard
themselves
again.
and all that. Yeah. Well, look, let's continue. We've got another semi-final. This one's also pretty tight. We've got the second seed, Hangman Adam Page, and the third seed, Kenny Omega. Imp, Floyd and I talked forever in that last one. I want to give you plenty of time to talk about these two. So lead us off, please.
Yeah, grab a glass of water. You need it. Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this one. Because of what we talked about with Kenny Omega in the last round, just in terms of like the sheer match quality and establishing, it's important for him doing those kind of matches is so important past him because as Floyd was saying, it set the bar for what a great match in AEW even is, and he is the bar that now every great match gets measured against. And setting that is so incredibly important, and now you're seeing it with just how incredible the wrestling is in AEW right now. Partly thanks to the bar that Omega set. But Hangman is the main character. He's the one who set that bar for how good the stories can be. And that's where it's, for me, they almost, in my mind, they almost cancel each other out in terms of the importance for AEW going forward, where Omega has those matches and Page has the character and the stories. They're the two things that I want to see all future AEW stuff measured against. And for me, that's why it almost ends up in a deadlock, because both of them have had incredible matches. Omega's had more incredible matches, but Hangman's they've had that emotional character story tied to it as well. Like, Hangman's character arcs have been so, like, far and above anything Kenny Omega's done. It's not even close. I think it's a complete wash in that category. Promos, I'd say the same thing. Just a complete wash. Obviously, when you come to the matches, Kenny Omega's had so many. And factually, Floyd has presented the data. Kenny Omega factually has like a quarter of the best AEW matches. Hangman is throughout those things and even involved in some of them. But I feel like I want to go with Hangman because of specifically what his importance at AEW has become, whilst Kenny Omega, both of them set a bar for AEW. So I personally feel like they're both so important within wrestling that I think they do cancel them out in my mind. And with Hangman Page becoming the main character and his whole arc, it's not just the arc to becoming champion against Kenny, it's everything afterwards as well, like this decline against Swerve and then his like babyface turn again for him to come and defeat the Death Riders and become AEW's main character. That whole arc is so great and kind of integral just to show that bar they set earlier, they can still meet with the whole Hangman stuff. So I'm voting for Hangman Page. Oh, I can't stutter when I say it. Be confident. I'm saying Hangman Page. I'm saying Hangman Page. Hangman Page. But that is with just what's personally important to me. Because I fully realise that if to you personally, the quality of the match, I may be speaking to Rich Latter personally here, but for you what's more important to you is that quality of the match, then it makes sense that Kenny Omega would easily be your vote. But for me, the story and character is like equally as important, and Hangman is the one that set that bar. So that's why it's so tough. So for me personally, with that other stuff being just as important, that's what elevates Hangman. But I fully understand this is going to be heavily debated because of just how exceptional Kenny Omega's matches are. And it is very much a personal way that I watch wrestling that means it, that the character stuff is so important for me. I can hear Sam making noises, so maybe he's the one to go next.
Before I let you talk, Floyd, I'll throw to you pretty relatively quickly because I agree with pretty much all that you've said, but I just think it's closer than you think with the match quality level. If you're looking at that top 100 that Floyd referenced earlier and you brought up, Kenny Omega has had 24 of those matches. Adam Page is in 20. And if you look at the top 10, Hangman Page is in 5 of the top 10 matches that have happened in AEW. This is just based purely on cage match, but it's as good a reference as any for us to use in this instance. I think, Adam Page is well and truly up there when it comes to match quality in AEW. But Floyd, I'll let you, as I said, I agree with most of what you said, Imp. So Floyd, are you also looking at Hangman Page, or are you feeling that Kenny Omega is the one to vote for in this?
Kenny Omega.
It's Kenny Omega. Okay,
it's the one wing ageless.
I think it's, I'll let you go.
Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. 2020 Best Wrestling Maneuver. 2021 Feud of the Year. 2020 Most Outstanding Wrestler. That was a part of AEW. 2020 Pro Wrestling Match of the Year. This kind of is a wash because it was with Hangman Page versus the Young Bucks. United States Canada MVP in 2021. Wrestler of the Year in 2021. All for Kenny Omega. How many Wrestler of the Years has Hangman Page won as a member of AEW? 0. How many Most Outstanding Wrestler has Hangman Page won as a member of AEW? 0. Nothing. He has not. It is Kenny Omega. It is the best wrestler of our generation, Kenny Omega. The standard which every wrestling match will be set at. The standard which Hangman Page's wrestling matches have been set at. He built the foundation. Where they say AEW is where the best wrestle, they're talking about Kenny fucking Omega. That's who they're talking about. Kenny Omega is where the best wrestle. People are like, oh, I want to work with Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho. I want to work with Kenny Omega. That is what Chris Jericho wanting to work with Kenny Omega is the foundation that built AEW. The EVP, the guy that just said, I just don't want to be MVP anymore. He just lays it down. This man carries this company with his name and his performance. Everything that has been done as far as wrestling in this company is measured against him. He is the Michael fucking Jordan of AEW. He is so far above everyone else, I don't even understand it. The One Wing Angel, the most protected move ever. Hangman Page is not Hangman Page without Kenny Omega to try to chase. He was the guy that Hangman had to chase. The loss at Full Gear, Kenny Omega. Like, he has done it as a heel. He has done it as a face. He has done it on every level. Anything that you might take away as far as his promo ability, which he doesn't have a lot, it's just made, it stands up to him being Kenny Omega. On the match scale, 1 out of 10, he's a 19. On the history, 1 out of 10, he's a 13. He blows all that stuff away. It's not that Hangman's not important. Hangman is absolutely one of the main characters. But this company does not exist. The wrestling style that this company subscribes to, that every wrestler tries to gain, does not exist without Kenny fucking Omega.
There you go. You did what Don Callis has probably wanted to do his whole life. He's had to say Kenny by God Omega because AEW couldn't swear. Remember when AEW used to have people used to drop F-bombs all the time on AEW and it just stopped for some reason? Yeah. Anyway, whatever happened to that? I think you make a really strong point there, Floyd, particularly with the way you wrap that up, the style that AEW wrestles in, and that Adam Page very much wrestles, is so influenced by Kenny Omega. The thing that I lean to, though, is just I haven't seen the stories from Kenny Omega since the Adam Page one. Like, honestly, the biggest story he's been involved in, he's had a never-ending program with Don Callis, but it seemed to have gone round and round in circles and, to be fair, like, interrupted. But since 2021, since AEW started, the biggest stories that Omega has been with Hangman Page and Jon Moxley, whereas Hangman Page has had far more character development. He's had, the big program with Omega, obviously. He really was the heart of that, but Kenny Omega had to play an important part, and I think Kenny Omega in 2020 was played a really important part in that in particular. Obviously, 2021 as champion too, but then after that, you've got Hangman and Swerve, which is a whole other thing, and I don't think Kenny Omega's really had that second arc that Hangman Page has had story-wise. And as I said, like, match-to-match ratings, Kenny Omega has historical influence, legacy historical influence, but I think Hangman Page I think he has a better peak in AEW as a singles wrestler than Kenny Omega. Granted, that is largely based on the fact that Kenny Omega's been injured a lot of the time, but we're judging what's happened in AEW. And Kenny Omega's two best matches, as I said, have previously, and as Imp referenced as well, they've been at the Tokyo Dome. They're the Gabe Kidd match and the Will Ospreay match that happened at the Tokyo Dome. They're his two best singles matches. Then you've got like the Danielson match, which did happen in AEW, but I think Adam Page has a better match with Danielson than Kenny Omega. And yeah, as I said, looking at that cage match, just the numbers, Kenny Omega has 4 more in the top 100, but Adam Page has more in the top 10. I don't know, personally, I value that peak and that level of quality higher than just general consistency, which both really kind of just have anyway. And yeah, as I said, the thing that I'm going back to, the historical importance is there for both wrestlers. Kenny Omega probably has the edge, but I think just the storylines, the promos, the emotional connection, it's been there for day one with Adam Page throughout the entirety of this promotion. There's people who just ride or die with Hangman Page, whereas with Kenny Omega, the emotional connection hasn't been able to develop in the way and hasn't been able to evolve and go on the journey that it has for Hangman Adam Page. So yeah, I'm gonna have to side with Hangman Adam Page, I think. You make a really good case, Floyd, and yeah, it really is. It's killing
so
one of the. It's killing one of the.
It's so funny because we're like, he is the blueprint. There is no Hangman without Kenny Omega. You know, he is the blueprint. He is the map that Hangman was like. Who put Hangman on the map? Kenny Omega is the fucking map. You know,
look, if we're talking wrestling anywhere since 2016, I would agree that Kenny Omega in a heartbeat. But Kenny Omega, we're talking about just their performances in AEW.
Yes.
And I think Hangman Page has, like, if let's just line it up singles for singles. Adam Page versus John Moxley, Kenny Omega versus John Moxley. I think the Adam Page versus John Moxley matches are better than the Kenny Omega John Moxley matches.
Okay.
Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. I think Page has probably got the better series with Danielson as well. And we're talking about their top matches. Then you've got Adam Page versus Swerve. If you want to go with Kenny Omega, you've probably got Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. I'd say I like or you could even just compare their Ospreay matches. I think Kenny Omega probably wins that one, to be fair. But we're still talking 2-1 at this point. Like, Omega is the blueprint, I agree, but Hangman Page in AEW has done it better. I'll let you talk. I'm dominating again. Jump in there if you have anything to say in relation to this.
I like, again, you are both correct. I've gone with Hangman as well, as I said, because of everything Floyd said about Kenny Omega and the wrestling in the match. For me, can be said exactly the same for Hangman and for storytelling in AEW. He became the blueprint of what a story can be in AEW. Kenny Omega was the blueprint for the style of the wrestling, which you'd think long term would be more important. But for me personally, the stories and thing, establishing how you're going to be telling that is just as important as the wrestling itself. And because it's that part, that's what gets you invested in seeing the match in the first place. But of course, you need that Kenny Omega bit to then also get you equally as hyped, because, well, if you can also guarantee that the match itself is going to be amazing, then then it's just like the two work together so perfectly. But for me, yeah, when you start measuring specifically AEW, because like one of my absolute favourite matches is Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay from Forbidden Door, which will count towards this. It's one that I can just keep going back to. I don't even care about the Don Callis finish with the screwdriver and whatnot. I just love that match so much. But that said, there's so many matches in AEW I keep going back to. But I feel like Hangman has just got so many great stories and that then interact into those matches, like the one with Kenny Omega, which is just like such a peak of both of those things matching together so well. It's kind of what I'm talking about, where the stories and the wrestling meet in such an amazing climactic moment. And where so, for me, that is that both of them together, those things working together for me, that's the blueprint for AEW. That Hangman arc meeting the Kenny Omega wrestling. That's the thing that I want to see from AEW. That's the thing together, which I know is a statement that doesn't help in this context, because I'm saying they're both equally as important as each other.
And to be fair, that's something that Kenny Omega has done as well. Like if you look at the Bullet Club Civil War and how it culminates in him beating Okada at Dominion, that's sort of blueprint. But that's not in AEW. It's in New Japan.
I will say this: it does not bother you that only one of these men has been considered the best wrestler in the world in his time in AEW. One, Kenny Omega. Hangman's never won this. Never won anything.
Maybe he'll win it this year.
No, he's not going to win it this year. You know he's not. He's never won anything. And y'all are just like, let's just ignore that. This dude has won all these awards. I only read the ones he won in AEW. 2 Hangman's won. And the one that Hangman won, he needed Kenny Omega to do.
I say a big part of that for me is the thing that I'm elevating up isn't awarded. There is no award for best character arcs or best maintained flow, whatever. The best we get is best feud.
Best 5-year character arc.
Yeah, I mean, like there is none of that. And
Paige did win feud of the year with Kenny Omega.
That's just like a yes. But a feud can just be like a short snapshot, or it could be like a 3-month period or whatever. or whatever you count Drew McIntyre, CM Punk. I don't know what that counts as because they were bubbling for a while and interacting, but then they properly feuded for like a summer period. I don't know what was counted when they won that award. I'm assuming they did win, didn't they? I've not made that up.
but Paige and Swerve that went over a year, but it's split between two voting years, so it doesn't. It should win. That's miles better than anything else that's ever that's happened. But it's split across 2 years, so it's like it doesn't really fit.
I'm only going on who won, and I fully accept my loss. I do accept my loss in this situation. I want to make this clear, but I'm just saying, in the arguments you made in other ones, you literally ignored that argument for this because you like Hangman. Literally.
Look,
you made the John Moxley won these awards arguments against MJF not 20 minutes ago, and you completely ignored it when it came to Kenny Omega. That does not make sense.
I'm willing to hand wave it because I think that if we're talking match quality, which is what you're putting forward those Omega ones for, if we look at the cage match, I as I said, I think it's a wash. Like it's 20 to 24 in the top 100, and Hangman's got more in the top 10. Yeah. So anyway, look, Hangman's
you just completely ignored the Wrestling Observer newsletter because you like Hangman. I'm just saying there was a bias that came in from the very beginning that I tried to take out that clearly you did not take out.
I also like Kenny Omega quite a lot.
No, I'm saying every argument you've made up to this, you ignored for Hangman.
Each argument happens in its own little individual universe.
You know what's great about this? That this is recorded. And this is going to go out in the world, and people will tell you that, guess what? You kind of just ignored every argument you made up to this.
I think I'm pretty confident the people on the Social Suplex Discord like Hangman Page, so I'm happy to listen to those guys.
I'm not saying
I'm not on Twitter anymore. You can put this wherever they want.
That's the point. Floyd is the only one of us on Twitter.
Okay, before Floyd tries to jump through this microphone and strangle me, we're gonna have to move on. Let's do a third and fourth playoff. MJF versus Kenny Omega. We're not going to make any arguments, guys. I'm just going to ask each person who they vote for, and we'll just have to sit with that. Time-wise, we're just going to have to do it this way, and then we'll be able to make full arguments for John Moxley versus Adam Page. We'll see who wins.
I already know my answer. It's nice and easy.
Okay, well, everyone knows their answer because Floyd, who do you vote for?
Kenny Omega.
Imp, who do you vote for?
Kenny Omega.
Sam, who do you vote for? Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega comes third. Congratulations, Kenny Omega. Okay. Well, look, my seedings worked out really well so far because Kenny Omega was my third.
Your seedings worked out with the guys you wanted 1 or 2. I'm shocked.
Hey, look, there was 3 people here. I had to convince Imp as well, right?
I'm going to go with his wrestling leaning. It's probably closer towards yours than it is mine. I'm just going to say that.
I wonder what would happen if we had Dave Fenichel here to argue that.
Mox
Kenny Omega and Adam Page.
You would need a 5th person because Mox would have been voted out the first round. He hates John Moxley.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We're here to crown a champion, and crown a champion we must. Remaining, we've got John Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. John Moxley, he accounted for Brandon Cutler in the first round, Ray Phoenix in the second round, Samoa Joe in the third round, Cody Rhodes in the quarterfinals, and MJF in the semifinals to get here. Hangman Adam Page, he accounted for Sean Spears in the first round, Brody King in the second round, Kyle Fletcher in the third round, Darby Allin in the quarterfinals, and as we know, sorry Floyd, he accounted for Kenny Omega in the semifinals. We're not going to relitigate that one, but we are moving on to the grand final. John Moxley, the first seed, versus Hangman Adam Page, the second seed.
I will be the tiebreaker. I will be the tiebreaker. I will concede to you. I will just be the tiebreaker.
I think I've got quite a short and succinct thing for it.
Okay. You can go first then, Imp.
So if I'm going to have the audacity to eliminate Kenny Omega, then surely I have to crown the guy I eliminated him with. surely, surely I can't then have Hangman lose, right? Right? I'm partly laying this on Sam because I'm voting for Hangman, but I'm laying this on Sam because I know his heart's with John Moxley. I'm just like, surely you can't then also eliminate Hangman. But I think pretty much for every single point I argued for Hangman to go through is the exact thing I'm going to say here. So there's not really much point dancing it over it again. If Kenny Omega's the blueprint for match wrestling in AEW, then Hangman Page is the blueprint for how stories and characters can be told in AEW. And unfortunately, as important as Mox is, for me, Hangman is infinitely more important for AEW as it is now and as it will be going forward. End of statement. It's like I'm talking to the jury right at the end. If the gloves don't fit, quit. There we go.
I've gone back and forth on this one. Because these are, honestly, like, these are my two favorite wrestlers of all time at this point. John Moxley, Hangman Adam Page. I enjoy watching both of these guys so much. And they're so similar as well in what they do. They're both incredible promos. They both bring so much life and energy to their feuds. They are both so passionate about wrestling. They both treat their bodies like they stole them. They just will throw themselves into nails and glass and thumbtacks, and they will bump like absolute maniacs. There's so much that I love about both of them, but I cannot go past John Moxley. As much as I love Hangman Adam Page, and as much as I love the stories that he's been in with Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland in particular, his redemption arc, some of the most emotionally invested I've ever been in a wrestler, I cannot go past the consistency of John Moxley at the top of AEW. As I said, AEW has had something like, it's had 37 pay-per-views, and John Moxley has been in the main event, in the championship match, or in the main event for more than half of them. That kind of level of consistency at the top is just not replicated by someone like Hangman, who has had his times in the sun. Don't get me wrong. He has had his times where he has shone and been the guy in AEW. But more often than not, the guy in AEW has been John Moxley. Adam Page has had great character arcs. He's had great main events, but he has not had as many as John Moxley. He has not been relied on in the way that John Moxley was, particularly early on during COVID. In fact, at times, and this pains me to say it, like at times, Adam Page has flaked under pressure. He has gone missing for years at a time almost. There was the whole one of the reasons that kicked off the Swerve Strickland story arc was that Adam Page went missing for 9 months. He lost his love. He was one of the reasons that there was so much backstage controversy at one point. And while I think that the detractors for that are for Hangman Adam Page massively outstate what he is, I feel like Judas saying these things. I feel dirty. I'm going to have a friggin' bath after this. But it's true that even though what his detractors say is massively overstated, Hangman Adam Page played a large part in something that became a black cloud that hung over AEW for a long time. And John Moxley was given the task of rescuing at one point. From a business perspective, as I said, John Moxley has been the consistent man at the top that has been given the ball by TK over and over again because he is reliable, because he is consistent, because his performances are exceptional, and he is always able to take something, take a feud, take a program, take a championship, and immediately create interest in it by the way that he performs and the matches that he puts on. Yeah, John Moxley, Adam Page may be the emotional core may have been the emotional core at times for AEW, but John Moxley has been the ace of the company. He has been the man that has been called upon to be the main eventer, to be the champion more than anyone else. And I think for that reason, he should win this championship. Floyd, I'll let let me know where you're sitting.
This is completely my fault because I let you go first. I have been saving 1 point for this whole thing because I knew who this was going to end on. I knew from the beginning it was going to be Hangman and Mox. I knew it. I knew who I was on the thing. I listened to your shows. I knew where this was going. I knew who was going to be 1 versus 2. Come on. I knew it. And I was saving one thing. And the 1 point I was saving for this to knew I was going to crown Mox. I've known this from the beginning. Is Hangman almost broke the company with a promo.
I feel that simple. Honestly, like bringing it up, I immediately want to start rebutting and debating you. I feel so dirty making that point.
Dude.
I'm turning heel on my favorite person.
No, he set off the volcano that is Mount Phil. He did it. If the single shot that almost destroyed our company started with his big fucking mouth. Your winner and champion and greatest of AEW all time, Jon Moxley.
Look, I love both of these wrestlers so much.
and neither one are in my top 10.
Oh, well, thanks for putting yourself through this, Floyd. And anything you'd like to say before we crown Jon Moxley, because it seems like the votes are against you, mate.
I've lost.
I've been on that side. It's not a good feeling.
You had to do that promo, didn't you, Hangers? You had to get your shot in. That one, out of all of the importance for your AEW career, for everything I've said, where you are the blueprint of storytelling for the future of a company, like all of that, you had to say one line 2 or 3 years ago, and it's doomed you.
Look, we're talking the greatest AEW wrestler, singles male wrestler, and it's come down with Jon Moxley winning. Floyd Imp. I've really enjoyed this. This has been so fun getting back into this. It's we've had some disagreements. I feel like Floyd's not going to message me for a little while for putting Hangman over Kenny Omega.
You did the most
I think he still wants to argue about me.
No, you literally did the most predictable thing ever. You picked 1 versus 2. Your 1 and 2 ended up at 1 and 2. It's like, why did we do the thing? We should have said, who's the greatest wrestler, Jon Moxley or Hangman?
Well, I mean, I gave him the chance to.
I mean, that was no, there was no chance because you weren't going to change your mind. You weren't. God himself could have came down and said, Kenny Omega's more important. You're like, I'm going to go with Hangman.
Oh, Floyd, I'm sorry.
But you know it's true. Everything I'm saying is 100% accurate. I took myself out of it. I eliminated Cody. One of my favorite humans. I eliminated Cody. Because I was like, you know what? I looked at the numbers. Cody didn't line up. I eliminated Cody out of this. You know, I was like, man, I want to be Cody. But I was like, no. You're trying to shoot straight. You decided on Hangman and Jon Moxley at the beginning, and you just stuck with it.
Well, each week I've been putting a thing on the Discord as to around a controversial topic. I've been putting a poll on there. We'll let everyone have their say. Did we get that right? Did we get that wrong? So join the Social Suplex Discord. Jump in there. Let us know how we've gone. Floyd, I really appreciate you coming on and putting yourself through this.
Yes. You know what question I want you to put in the Discord? Did Sam decide the winner before he even made the tournament? I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to be a resounding yes.
Technically, isn't that what a number 1 seed is? Like, you should be the winner.
No, but usually seeding is done by a committee, but this was him. And I was just like, okay. Well, I was like, dude, there was nothing that was going to move him from Mox or Hangman. Nothing. They're his 2 favorite wrestlers. That'd be like if we did a tag team.
Well, they're the 2 most important wrestlers AEW's ever
like
had,
if we did a tag team one, and I'll put FTR at 1, and you're like, oh, let's try to get Floyd to vote off FTR. Yeah, that ain't happening. That's what just happened.
The sequel has been established.
Oh, no.
Look, go in.
I was like, when Floyd was saying that he's listened to both our shows, he knew who he'd vote for. I was like, well, yeah, actually, you think about it. Sam's always going to vote for John. I'm always going to vote for Hangers. If you listen to either of our shows, you know exactly where both of us would go.
I nearly voted for there was times where I was thinking, do I go with Hangman in the final, or do I go with John Moxley in the final? I think Floyd would have just hung up immediately.
And that's what I was literally waiting on that. I was waiting on you both to say Hangman, so I was like, I'm glad I don't have to vote.
I am staying.
Yes, I don't think either one of these are number one, but whatever. But you needed me.
Okay.
It would have been a boring show if it was just you two. Because y'all would have just like, oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Well, look, I appreciate you guys joining me for this journey. Floyd, do you want to tell the people?
Rich, save me. Go for Kenny Omega. I need you. Follow me at Floyd Johnson Jr. or on Twitter, and at AT Elite Pod on Twitter if you are so inclined. Our shows usually come out around Thursday or Friday. This, as angry as I sound, I actually had the time of my life. I knew I was gonna go, but I knew I was gonna go out swinging. I knew I was like a 170-pound guy going up against Mike Tyson. I knew that's what was happening, but I was gonna give it my all. So I hope you all appreciated my effort, even though I knew I was losing.
I love that you're characterizing me and Imp as Mike Tyson. Like, that's how tough we are, Imp. We're real tough boys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mike Tyson of opinions.
Bite your ear off.
Something about that in the Aussie accent. Bite your ear off, mate.
Bite your bloody ear off, mate. Imp, where can they find you?
Well, as an Englishman, as a Nottinghamshire man, I've had enough of Aussies. We're moving on. And that's just a joke for the football fans. Anyway, I've got my show, Imp's AEW Adventure. My latest one went. My latest one will have always gone up on Monday, so it doesn't matter when this gets released. This matter always goes up on a Monday. By the time whilst we're recording this, I've just done my Wrestle Dream one, so I'm dating the show again. I realised I hadn't dated the show this week, so you got to do it. But yes, I'll be talking about whatever's they're talking about. I do the edited down reviews talking about it. I somehow got through the Wrestle Dream week in like 40 minutes, and I don't know how I did that. With like Tailgate with the 3-hour show and Wrestle Dream all done in 40 minutes. Like, I'm very impressed with myself. I have no idea how I did that. And especially with this here today, where it won't be in the edit, but Sam just going like, oh God, we talked for ages. It's just very loud. But yeah, so you can do me on, you can find me on there. If you message me on the Discord, I will likely respond. Like Cluffy messages me on the soccer one, as Sam was talking about with the all different things you can talk to about on the Discord. Yeah, in the football one, I'm messaging there, but you know, I'm hardly talking about wrestling aside from my show at the moment. I like posts on Blue Sky. So I am on Blue Sky, but I don't know my handle. So you can find that. It's in the descriptions of my shows.
It's in the show notes.
Yeah, it's in my show notes. No, it'll be in this. But yeah, this has also been like super fun. One of those tournament countdowns where it's kind of sad it's ended and you're immediately thinking about the next one, which is proof that I've enjoyed my time. So thank you for doing this, Sam.
No, I appreciate you both coming along. It's been a lot of fun to dust off the old podcast, Mike. I don't have anything planned for next week or in the immediate future, but I'm sure I'll be back. Let's face it, I just like the attention, you know. I build up all these thoughts and I need to get them out there. And then I get out there and I'm exercised of them. So I've done that. I've expelled out my thoughts for the minute, but stay subscribed because I will be back at some point in the future. I will continue to talk AEW, talk about the history of it. I might review some matches. Who knows? I might scratch that itch at some point as well. In the meantime, though, you can find us on the Social Suplex Discord. As I said, we'll be putting up things there. Let us know what you thought about the results of things. Did you think Jon Moxley was the right person to win it? Should someone else have taken it out? I don't know. What did you think of our arguments? Do you think we should have been swayed by what Floyd was putting out there for Kenny Omega? I'm curious to know what people think. I really am. And yeah, even though we went into this with my first and second seed coming in first and second, and my third and fourth seed coming in third and fourth, it wasn't planned to go. I didn't know that it would go like that. So it just
you're
so
the only one that didn't know.
Stay salty, Floyd. Stay salty, mate. But look, you can please also rate and subscribe the rate and review the podcasts that you're listening to. It just helps us get out there, particularly if you're on the Social Suplex feed. And make sure you listen to all of the other great shows we got on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We already talked about All Things Elite and Imps AEW Adventure. We also got One Nation Radio, Trish and Sarah, Sarah's Wrestling Podcast, Tunnel Talk, Wrestle Art with Chris Things, and Keeping It Strong Style. All great podcasts in their own right. Great hosts, great people. Social Suplex is a great network to be part of. And if you also like what we do, you can donate if you want through Red Circle. And as I said, rate and review. That is another way you can help us out and chat to us on the Social Suplex Discord. I think we're going to get out of here, guys. Thanks so much again. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the AEW Match Guide podcast. If you enjoyed the show, then you can subscribe on the podcast app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Also, feel free to let me know on Twitter at Sir_Samuel. I'd love to hear from you. The AEW Match Guide podcast is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network, where you can find many other fantastic podcasts discussing not just AEW, but all parts of the world of professional wrestling. Looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Sam Brown.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.